Welcome to this video, which is titled Functions of Mythologies. I felt a need to do this video because the biggest problem today that we have, especially for spiritual seekers and religious followers, is that we mix up mythologies with actually history. Now, I can invoke nobody better than Devdutt Pattanaik, a renowned scholar of Indian mythology, which forms a core of this particular presentation. The first part of the presentation is titled From a Religious Perspective. While people differentiate science from science fiction and history from historical fiction, few can differentiate between mythology and mythological fiction. This is because the human consciousness has evolved from a mythological to the rational level over the last 6,000 years. But bulk of humanity is still locked up in what we call as archaic and magical consciousness, which pre-existed during the hunter-gatherer period before we came to the agrarian era. In this two-part video series, we will look at the function of mythologies both from historical and religious perspective. Primarily, Vedic scriptures have been classified under two categories, namely Smriti and Shruti. While other sacred texts of other religions have no clear classification to my knowledge except on a historical basis. Shruti means that which is heard. It refers to the most ancient and authoritative text in Hinduism, believed to be divinely revealed and not authored by humans. The four Vedas are considered Shruti text. The Upanishads are the essence of the Vedas taught for spiritual seekers through gurus or seers. Temporal interpretation of the Upanishads vary, but they are generally seen as timeless and universal teaching. They discuss eternal truths that are not bound by a specific historical or cultural context. Smriti means that which is remembered. These texts are considered to be human authorship, but are still highly respected in the Hindu tradition. Smriti texts include Mahabharata, Ramayana, Puranas, and various legal and philosophical texts such as Manusmriti. While they are not authoritative as the Shruti text, they provide essential guidelines for religious practices, ethics, and social norms in the Hindu society. Temporal interpretation of Puranas differ according to the specific Purana in question. Some Puranas are considered more historically grounded, while others are seen as more mythologically and allegorically grounded. The Itihas, particularly Ramayana and Mahabharata, are epic narratives that combine mythology, history, and moral teaching. Temporal interpretation of Itihas view them as quasi-historical accounts, albeit a mix of mythology and allegory. Historical data from archaeological findings do not fully relate to the meanings conveyed by mythologies. By contrast, mytho-fiction writers are not constrained by facts. They can say that Shiva Purana describes historical events that occurred at the end of the last ice age 10,000 years ago, followed by events of the Ramayana 7,000 years ago, and then Mahabharata about 5,000 years ago. These are approximate dates that have been denoted or designated by human beings. One of the archaeologically confirmed events that occurred worldwide around 11,700 years ago was that a fragmented comet impact which led to the ice shelf collapse being the end of the ice age. This led to the catastrophic floods in all the river valleys around the world. And most of the civilization at that particular point of time, before the onset of the agrarian age, were living around the river delta. The commonality of this historical event can be found as mythology invoking this as divinely ordained in the following text. Matsya Purana in the Vedic text, Noah's Ark in the biblical text, Epic of Gilgamesh in the Sumerian Mesopotamian epic, Deucalion and Pyrrha in Greek mythology, and Popol Vuh in the Mayan mythology. So these all have the same event being repeated with different interpretations. Another archaeologically confirmed event used in the Old Testament in the Bible is how the destruction of Tal el Hammam in the Jordan Valley around 1650 BCE, close to the north end of the Dead Sea, by a meteor airburst, which was much more and many more times severe than the Siberian Tunguska airburst in 1908, could be attributed to the destruction of the biblical city of Sodom. If you want more details, I have done a separate video on this and you can see it below in the description. Such fantasies in interpretations fuel pride among people, especially at that time when there was lack of knowledge and there was absolutely no scientific reasoning. The politicians will therefore always side with the mytho-fiction writers rather than with historians. But what about mythology? It is neither history nor mytho-fiction. While people differentiate science from science fiction and history from historical fiction, few can differentiate between mythology and mythological fiction, and these two are assumed to be totally different. Mytho-fiction is designed to make you feel good about the past, indifferent to evidence. History tells you based on evidence what the past was. Mythology tells you based on evidence how people in the past imagined their world. In this imagination lies, at various deeper levels, a wealth of spiritual insights to empower humanity. These insights that authors of ancient mythologies intend to convey varied greatly across cultures and belief systems. In the second part of the series, we will look at the original purpose intended by the mythologies and how we can take it forward into the new era of our knowledge base. Thank you for watching and listening, and have a great life.